and the Sugar Babes things have both been, in my opinion, particularly good tracks. And the fact that my music is such a key part of them makes you feel good. I'm proud to have sort of that loose connection with it, really.
But perhaps the most surprising influence was revealed by legendary hip-hop pioneer Afrika Bambaataa, who, having covered metal himself, confessed that Gary's success in America 30 years ago had contributed to the development of hip-hop.
The influence on hip-hop music, I totally knew nothing about when it was actually happening, which was a shame, actually. I didn't find out about it until a few years ago when somebody said Afrika Bambaataa had talked about me. I met him, we did a joint interview with somebody. Talking to Bambaataa about it, I started to find out how important it had been and how they used to use the drum loops and things and then rap over it.
Even hip-hop veterans, the Beastie Boys, referenced Gary's influence in their 1998 album track Super Disco Breakin'.
It's a very unexpected connection, really, but one I'm actually particularly proud of.
It is astonishing, considering he was a white boy from Heathrow, the influence that he had on American music. But I think that's because his use of electronic sounds was way ahead of his time. And then people came back, and when sampling was invented, people started sampling them left, right and centre.
One of the big reasons that my last 10 or 15 years have been steadily getting better, rather than the previous 15, which was just steadily getting worse. It all goes back to that 94 sort of period, and this is when a lot of these cover versions started to appear, and that coincides with my songwriting changing and in my opinion, getting much, much better. And so when these people did check me out, I had something worthwhile to listen to.
Buoyed by the growing respect for his older work, and with a fresh passion for new material, Gary released Exile in 1997. The album featured the single Dominion Day and marked a return to live performance with an ambitious world tour. But it was with the year 2000 and the release of Pure that Gary received widespread critical acclaim for the first time in his career.
Getting rave reviews for Pure was a massive surprise. I'd always had really bad reviews pretty much throughout my whole career, and I'd stopped even thinking, stopped reading reviews, because if they reviewed it at all, there was always going to be rubbish. So just accepted that was sort of my lot. And then Pure came along, which was probably the heaviest, darkest record that I'd made at that point. And all of a sudden the reviews are fantastic.
This rich vein of form would continue with the 2003 Rico collaboration Crazier, which saw Gary return to the UK Top 20 and even back to the top of the pop studio.
The Crazier thing was just such a cool experience in general, and it peaked really being back on top of the pops. I think with the featured artists on top of the pops like people, they follow you down the corridor into that stuff. It was great, and it'd been such a long time since I've been on top of the pops, and to get back on it again, and with a song like that, because I thought it was a good song. It wasn't a typical pop song at all. It was much heavier.
Gary's creative reinvigoration was complemented by his burgeoning family life. In 2003, Gary and his wife Gemma had the first of 3 little girls, which saw his creative pace slow somewhat. Later, returning to the studio in 2006 with the album Jagged, featuring the single In a Dark Place.
I'm actually enjoying it more now than I think I ever have, ever. I really love where I am musically, and from the career's in a really lovely place, actually. The respect, I suppose, that I never had when the whole pop star thing was happening. There's plenty of that now, it's people doing cover versions and all that sort of stuff, kind of all the time. So it's sort of quite nice being me at the moment.
Continuing to develop his new musical direction, Gary is now hard at it again in the studio with upcoming albums Splinter.
With Splinter, although it's a long, long, long way from being finished at the minute, is shaping up to be a heavier, darker, more aggressive, more anthemic, more epic, hopefully, version of Pure and Jagged combined, with all new sounds and so on.
Numan's story has been an amazing rollercoaster ride of highs and lows, which has spanned over 30 years, from the early days as a fledgling punk onto a global superstar who struggled to find critical appreciation.
When I became successful, it wasn't because I had some, sort of good understanding or feel for where music was and what it needed and all the rest of it. It wasn't like that. So I stumbled into success, and I just happened to come along at the right time, writing the right kind of thing and have the right opportunities at just the right moment.
I think Gary has now got some of the recognition and kudos that he deserved a long time ago.
I was always impressed by the way he'd found his voice, and it's unusual, but it was unmistakably him, and boldly him. I see me doing what I've learned from him.
Gary is fantastically influential in a way that he just has not had credit for.
There's something unsettling in it that I really like. Do you know what I mean? That mix of being a bit intrigued and a bit confused and knowing it's really good, but still feeling a bit, it makes you feel a bit on edge, but in a really good way.
His use of electronic sounds was way ahead of his time. I mean, he was one of those artists that created a whole new way of making music.
Gary Numan's legacy is well and truly established, with thousands of adoring fans, 3 #1 albums, and over 10 million albums sold worldwide. You cannot fail to admire the sheer determination and staying power of an artist who has overcome personal, creative, and critical setbacks to become one of the most influential, sampled, and covered artists of all time.
I've never felt part of anything, really. When I started, I knew exactly the sort of music I wanted to make and did. I have a very clear idea of where my own music is and where I want it to go next. I don't have much interest, if any, in whether that's commercially a good place to be taking music on or not.
Gary marches on with over 30 years in the music business. He shows no signs of slowing down as he embraces new technologies and sounds and inspires a whole new generation of musicians. A true electronic pioneer who has stood the test of time and continues to record and innovate.
I get a lot of the credit because I was the first one to become #1. Realistically, it would be fair that all of us that were doing it at that time should sort of take some share, I suppose. I'm just lucky that I was the first.
You see, this means everything to me.